The Christmas Chronicles 2 was released in 2020 and was directed by Chris Columbus. It tells the story of Kate and a new character named Jack who end up in the North Pole with Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, and there's a return of an old enemy who wants to destroy the North Pole, and it's up to Santa and the gang to save the day. My goodness gracious, it sounds so cheesy when I summarize it, doesn't it?
So as far as things go for the first Christmas Chronicles movie, I didn't really like it all that much. I just thought the story was a bit bland, not really that interesting, characters weren't that great, the effects were pretty bad, and some of the acting just wasn't believable. It's not a bad movie, I just didn't really like it all that much. As for the sequel, The Christmas Chronicles 2, this is how I felt about the Power Rangers Turbo series. It's so cheesy, so corny, that's just so much fun and entertaining to watch how cheesy it is. The Christmas Chronicles 2 storyline is a mess, and I mean the direction is absolutely messing. First it starts off with them out on a holiday, where the mother has a new boyfriend, and you think the movie's going to be centered on the holiday, but no, it then jumps to this, the North Pole is being threatened under attack, and it's just such a messy, I won't say complicated, but it's just such a messy, predictable story. It's the direction of the film's a mess, but it's that kind of a mess where it's so corny, so cheesy, so cringy in areas, but it's just so entertaining and it's so messy, it's fun. There are actually times though where I think the movie actually did have some strong ideas. We learn more about the storylines of Saint Nicholas. That was interesting, actually. I like the lore of that. It made me think, why didn't they make this the first movie? This probably should have been the first film. Why didn't they make this the story of the first film instead of having the first movie about Teddy and all that? You know, this should have been the plot of the first movie. And the villain being connected to Santa Claus, it just said to me, this should have been the plot of the first film. It really should have. But having that said, I still don't think it's a very good film. The ideas were just ridiculous. Santa Claus has an old enemy. Like, it just, I don't know, like, I know, like, Rise of the Guardians kind of has that, but, like, at least that works for that movie. But here, it just seems, it's just done in such ridiculous ways. The villain is awful. It's just, I don't know, it's such a cheesy, corny story. But it's just funny. It's just so cheesy, so corny. It's just so entertaining. It's kind of a guilty pleasure. I don't know if that's the right word to describe this film, in my opinion. But it's just, I don't know, it's a messy story. But you just kind of have to laugh at how messy it is. The acting is slightly better than it was in the first movie, but still a little over the top. The new actors actually do an okay job. They're not great, but they're okay at best. Kurt Russell's performance as Santa isn't bad, and he does play the character well. I just don't think Kurt Russell is the right one to play Santa Claus. He has the appearance alright to play Santa Claus, but I just don't think his voice suits Santa. I don't know what it is. I can't imagine him as Santa. He's not bad in these movies. I don't think he's the right one to play Santa Claus. But the acting is still not really that great. And the characters, they're not very good either.
Kate in this film is less generic than she was in the first film, but she's still not a very interesting character. Not bad by any means, just not really that interesting. Jack is fine. He's not awful or anything, but he's just, well, there. Santa is the same as he was in the first one, but he's actually a bit more entertaining and slightly funnier than he was in the first one, actually. Mrs. Claus is fine. I did actually like it when she's explaining the story of St. Nicholas. That's cool. But other than that, didn't really care much for her character. Teddy isn't in this film as much as he was in the first film, and that didn't really surprise me. He's only in the beginning and the ending. Same with the parents, and I wish we got to learn more about Jack's dad, who actually could have been an interesting character, but the movie doesn't bother developing him at all. Then there's the villain, Belsnickel. Oh Jesus, he's awful. His plans are ridiculous. His character is just awful. His rivalry with Santa is just really, really corny, and I just found Belsnickel to be a very cringy, cheesy, and awful villain.
So yeah, the film's characters are quite weak. The music of the movie isn't too bad, but some of the effects and CGI were shocking. I was shocked at how bad some of the CGI looked. Oh my god, it looked awful. So yeah, The Christmas Chronicles 2 is an improvement over the first movie and a bit more entertaining, but it's still not necessarily a good film.
Overall, The Christmas Chronicles 2 isn't necessarily a good film in my opinion, but it is an improvement over the first one because the story is slightly more fun, but the characters are still bland, the acting ain't all that great, the CGI is terrible, but I guess some of the music wasn't too bad. I'm going to give The Christmas Chronicles 2 a very low 7 out of 10. It just gets a pass for being just slightly more entertaining and a bit more funnier than the first one, but it's still a very cheesy film regardless.
So yeah, that's it for my review of The Christmas Chronicles 2. Stay tuned for my next review. Until then, guys, take care, thank you for watching, and skidoosh.